Snips. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Lady Jessica Atreides, who is the mother of Paul Atreides and the wife of Duke Leto Atreides in the Dune saga. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about who she is as a person, as well as her significance in relation to the events of the Dune universe, as well as her significance in terms of her role in the BENE Gesserit sisterhood. If you don't know who the BENE Gesserit sisterhood is, I've made a separate video, addressing the BENE Gesserit sisterhood, and which talks about who they are and what function they serve in the Dune universe at large. So I'll leave a link to this video in the description box so you can watch it on your own time. So let me get into this. So Jessica is described as being in the Dune novel. She's been described as being a tall, slim woman with bronze colored, light brownish, bronze colored hair, which she often wore tied back with a black ribbon at the crown, and she had a kind of an ovalish face with she had green eyes, beautiful green eyes, a small, slightly upturned nose, and a wide, generous mouth. She was actually part of the BENE Gesserit breeding program, the Kwisatz Haderach breeding program, which was designed to breed a being, essentially a super being, who would be very, prescient and would help guide humanity in terms of would help guide humanity to in terms of the future destiny of humanity, and would help ensure that the future destiny of humanity would be the right path, essentially the golden path. The golden path is another subject actually in the Dune universe, which I've also made a separate video on the golden path. So if you browse through my videos, you should see it. So this was the goal. One of the main, essentially, the primary goal of the BENE Gesserit was to breed the Kwisatz Haderach super being. So Lady Jessica played a very important role in this program, and she was the illegitimate daughter of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. So she didn't come to realize this until later in the events of the original Dune novel. She was ignorant of this fact for a good part of her life. And what happened was that the BENE Gesserit needed the Harkonnen and Atreides bloodlines to produce the Kwisatz Haderach. So the Harkonnen bloodline was an essential component of this program. So what happened was that if you read the prequel novels written by Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, they talk about how Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam approached Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, because she wanted to get pregnant by him, but he kind of, what happened was that he raped her, and that caused, so she, to get revenge on the Baron, she transmitted like a disease into his body that made it was a degenerative disease that made him, that screwed up his metabolism and made him, ridiculously obese. So that's how the Baron got to be obese, was because of this BENE Gesserit disease that was inflicted upon him by Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam. So I'm just throwing that out there for you. So what happened was that once Lady Jessica was born, she was she was raised in the Bene Gesserit school, and eventually Duke Leto Atreides would come to the would marry, not marry, but would take a concubine, and this concubine was Duke Leto would choose Lady Jessica as his concubine, as his bound concubine, when she was older. I think she was maybe 16 or 17 when Duke Leto would choose her as a concubine. So up until this point, she was not really. She didn't know her real importance, her real significance in terms of the Bene Gesserit breeding program at large. She just knew that, she was. She obviously was important. She knew that she had some significance, but she wasn't completely aware of her true purpose. But as time progressed, she slowly became more privy to this understanding. And what happened later was that when she married, after she married Duke Leto, and let me also add that she didn't know that Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam was her mom. She didn't know that the Reverend Mother was her mother. This was not revealed to her till later. So once she became Duke Leto's concubine, she fell genuinely in love with the Duke. And this actually threw a wrench in the Bene Gesserit Kwisatz Haderach breeding program, because what the plan was that what the Bene Gesserit wanted was her to breed with Duke Leto and produce a daughter, and then that daughter would eventually go on to marry a Harkonnen, in this case it would be Fade Rout the Harkonnen. That daughter would be paired up with Fade Rout the Harkonnen, and then their child would be the Kwisatz Haderach. Essentially, he would be the chosen one, the one that the Bene Gesserit had been anticipating for hundreds if not thousands of years. But this plan didn't go according to the Bene Gesserit plan. It went. What happened was that instead of having a daughter with Duke Leto, she had a son, against the wishes of the Bene Gesserit, and that son was Paul Atreides. So Paul was kind of an unexpected. What's the best way for me to say this? Kind of like he was not really the one that the Bene Gesserit wanted to have in their plan. He was kind of like a wild card in the Bene Gesserit breeding program. So after Paul was born, it was. Let me also add that the Kwisatz Haderach would have to be male in any event, but according to the Bene Gesserit and system of transmitting genetic memories from one generation to the next, the Kwisatz Haderach would have to have X and Y chromosomes to be able to carry the genetic memories of both male and female ancestors of all the previous generations that had come before him. So this was essential. So in any event, the Kwisatz Haderach would have to be male. The Kwisatz Haderach could not be female under any circumstances. So then what happened was that so Paul grew up, and this created a lot of tension between the Bene Gesserit and Lady Jessica. Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam was very upset about this. So then eventually what happened was that they, and let me also reiterate that that Lady Jessica gave Duke Leto a son because she was genuinely in love with the Duke, and the Duke wanted to have a son. So that's why they had a son together instead of a daughter. And then what would happen was that they would eventually, House Atreides would be granted the fiefdom of Arrakis by the Emperor, and they would relocate to Arrakis. And, the events of Dune would transpire. The Duke and his family would be attacked on Arrakis by the Emperor and the Harkonnen. And Paul and Lady Jessica would flee into the desert. So what happened after that was that they would be granted, as I guess most of you watching this video already know, the Fremen granted Paul Atreides and Lady Jessica sanctuary, and Paul would go on to lead the rebellion, to become the Fremen chosen one, the Mahdi, the one that the Fremen had prophesied would come and lead them to freedom, and Lady Jessica would be by his side. Lady Jessica would take the water of life, which is it's basically like it's a compound that is extracted from a baby sandworm, and it's an essential part of transitioning over from a regular Bene Gesserit sister to a Reverend Mother. It's part of the Bene Gesserit test. So once Lady Jessica took the water of life, she would transition over to a Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserit, and she took this. She actually drank this water. It's basically poisonous and kills almost anyone that imbibes it. But the Bene Gesserit can change their body chemistry to absorb the water of life. It's like a special power that they have. So she would while imbibing the water of life, she had baby Alia in her womb. So baby Alia would be born having the ancestral memories of all her previous generations that had come before her. So she wouldn't be quite normal as a child, and she would be later on, she would be the one that the Bene Gesserit would call the abomination, because it was foreseen that the Alia Atreides would be possessed by one of her ancestors. That ancestor was the spirit of Baron Harkonnen, as would be revealed to us in the later events of Dune, in the sequel novels, and so on and so forth. So then up to this point, so then what would happen was that Paul Atreides would eventually go on to defeat the Harkonnen and the Imperial forces on Arrakis, and would ascend to the throne as the new emperor of the known universe. And that would cement the rulership of the Atreides family from that point going forward. So at this point, Lady Jessica would be she'd oversee things from a distance on Caladan, and her daughter Alia would take over, would actually act as regent of the new empire on Arrakis. But Alia would progressively become more and more tyrannical. She would be the voices in her head would grow louder, and she would eventually become possessed by the spirits of her ancestors, notably the Baron Harkonnen spirit. So this would cause her to make a lot of bad decisions, and to put the Atreides family and the Paul's empire in jeopardy. So Paul would eventually go on to wander off into the desert, leaving Alia in control of things on Arrakis. She would make, as I said before, Alia would make a lot of bad decisions, and this would cause Lady Jessica to intervene. And because Lady Jessica was genuinely worried about that Paul's twins, twin daughter and son, Leto II and Ghanima Atreides, because he didn't want, she didn't want them to be afflicted by Alia's bad decisions. She didn't want them to be in danger. So she would eventually return to Arrakis, and at this point in time, Alia would eventually take her own life because she just couldn't contain the voices, and she couldn't fight off the possession that was turning her into a complete maniac. So eventually Alia Atreides would take her own life, and Lady Jessica would go on, to just at this point, she just would go on to help take care of, to watch over Paul Muad'Dib's children, Ghanima and Leto II. Leto II would eventually go on to become the so-called God Emperor of Dune, possibly the true Kwisatz Haderach in terms of what the BENE Gesserit had, not what in terms of what the BENE Gesserit had planned for, but he was a lot more powerful and a lot more prescient even than Paul. Paul Atreides was Paul Atreides at one point, I think he considered himself to be the Kwisatz Haderach, but it's debatable as to whether it was really his son Leto II that was the real Kwisatz Haderach, who would guide humanity along the golden path as was required, because humanity was in a precarious position, and they needed someone to guide them along a path that would help ensure humanity's survival in the distant future. So what happened in terms of so Lady Jessica is an important character in the Dune saga, and she does play a vital role in this in terms of the generational power that the BENE Gesserit want to transfer over to the so-called Kwisatz Haderach. And in the far future, long after her death, the BENE Gesserit would always kind of bring up the fact that Jessica's intention to have a son instead of a daughter with Duke Leto was a mistake, and an error like that was not to be repeated, because it could cause the future of humanity to fall into a dangerous position. So that was brought up in the later novels of Dune, in the sequels of Dune. So that's probably about it. I'd like to thank you for watching and listening to my video today. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And please visit my channel for more videos on Dune. Thanks.